ברוכים הבאים חברים, אנחנו היום ברביעי לדצמבר 2023, יש לנו הרבה אורחים מחו"ל, ברשותכם אני אפתח בכמה משפטים ברוכים הבאים לאורחים. Welcome all our friends worldwide. We are very proud and we are very moved to make an international video conferencing. We are gathering all people all over the world to stop the danger of the WHO World Health Organization. ברוכים הבאים חברים יקרים, אנחנו ברביעי לדצמבר 2023. יש לנו כמה רגעים היסטוריים פה הערב. הוועידה היא בינלאומית, יש לנו הרבה חברים מרחבי העולם ששמעו על האורח החשוב שיש לנו, והם רצו להצטרף, לא משנה איפה הם נמצאים, לא מוכנים להפסיד אף מילה שלו, וזה קצת מסביר עד כמה האורח שלנו הוא מאוד מאוד חשוב. החלק העיקרי של הערב, מעבר להרצאה שלי, מעבר לסטטוס, מעבר לשאלות והצעות, הרצאת אורח מאוד מאוד חשוב שעוד רגע יונתן ייתן קצת את הפרטים לגביו. אז אנחנו מתחילים את הערב. יונתן, בבקשה, ספר לנו על האורח החשוב שהשגת ואנחנו כולנו גאים בו.
Yes, absolutely. So quickly said, I'm a father of two children, boy 17, girl 12, and I want to allow them to grow up in a normal world without being threatened by these absolutely arbitrarian measures, restrictions without reason, without common sense, just harmful. We have seen this also in Switzerland, but not so heavy like in other countries. That's my basic motivation, just simply summarized. And as I said, I'm an attorney at law in Zurich, Switzerland. I started with business law, as most lawyers do. And then as of 2003, I concentrated, specialized on tax law. And you know what taxes are. Everybody has to pay taxes, and the government has the legal basis, the right to do, based on constitution and specific laws. So, when you are over 20 years in this business, then you know the reasons, you know what must be the justification when the government takes something away from you. And when restrictions came in March 2020, people were not allowed to work in Switzerland, and in most other countries, people were not allowed to work. So clients of mine, people called me and say, we cannot pay taxes, we cannot pay other expenses because we are not allowed to even work. And that occurred to many people. Of course, many people couldn't do home office and very comfortable have a joyful period of couple of weeks or months. But many people, let's not forget, like teachers, hairdressers, taxi drivers with their own firm, then also, yes, private teacher in all sectors, then artists, let's not forget, they were without salary. They had no money. So this is how I started looking at it and said, wow, how strong can the government interfere with our lives and take away the basis? There must be really a very, very strong reason. So that was how I started. And so that was March, April 2020. And I participated in podiums discussions. And also I wrote a letter to the Swiss Parliament. And I said, you need to stop this emergency law period because there's no reason for it. And I found other lawyers who signed that letter together with me, and many civil rights activists. And I also went to manifestations, to demonstrations, because I thought we need to go out to the street and show ourselves. And so I thought that was it. You know, if we go to the street, if we write some letters, then everything can be stopped. So now we know that it never stopped. If things, if the government is acting outside the law and does harm and does not correct this harm, then there is intention. And then the government will continue to do so. And this is frightening. I find this not a good perspective. So I started as a lawyer defending people, many children actually, many families first, against the duty to wear masks in school, because very quickly in Switzerland, November 2020, every child had to wear masks in school the whole day for many weeks. And it was clear that children were not at risk of COVID. There was no benefit of the masks. Then it was not in November, December 2020 and January, it was not anymore the businesses and the economy. Then I saw the government does harm to children, to our children. And again, no good reason at all. And we could see masks were not of a good use, were not necessary, and were even dangerous. I mean, I'm talking about CO2 in the air that you breathe back. I'm talking about chemical things, you know, all of that. So I have, with every claim, I've done more than 20 claims, no, with respect to masks, more than 12 procedures, all the levels up to the highest court. And each time more and more evidence submitted. And that must, under normal conditions be sufficient, must be sufficient for every court to stop. But they did not stop. And the reasons why they did not stop in this entire year, 3 years now, they gave the same 2 sentences, the same simple and not correct logic. They say, number one, in times of pandemic, we must allow the authorities a much wider space of discretion for decision making. Okay, they must have more liberties in times of pandemic. And number 2, as long as they remain within WHO's recommendation corridor, we cannot interfere. So you understand maybe what I want to say. So as long as there is pandemic, that means as long as WHO has declared a pandemic, okay? And number 2, recommendations of WHO have in reality of all the court cases played the decisive role. They have already in the past been legally binding. In fact, as if they were legally binding. So, I've done much more of these cases, not only duty to mask, but also I have tried to abolish or to have declared unconstitutional the duty to present certificates We had to present certificates to go to restaurants, to go to participate in public life. Restaurant owner had to control it, and so on, the same as you. We never had a duty to get vaccinated, and strict duty we never had, but there was a lot of pressure from all the media, from all the entire politics, the entire society, and also, as I said, this certificate to prove that you are tested negatively or vaccinated. That is a factual pressure, a lot of pressure that we had. So yes, you start getting interested in WHO, because WHO was the reason for declaring a pandemic in the first place. They did that on the 30th January 2020, you all know that. And of course, I participated, I spoke at many demonstrations in Switzerland, because I saw no other lawyer, or not many lawyers did that, by exception, one, two, my dear colleague Gerald Brey or Heinz Roschein. But that was it already. And also I'm organized together with other lawyers, the Swiss Lawyers Committee. So we wrote together analysis, and our legal analysis we presented to the Swiss Parliament, because in Switzerland, the Parliament is the highest authority in our country. And in order to tell them, stop emergency law, stop all these restrictions. So I want to say I tried everything I could. So I then started to really focus on WHO, the World Health Organization. So I tried to be as short as possible. I realized over time, our politicians, they were just executors of a higher order. And although there is no legal international law structure that would allow WHO to give our countries order, we have all then also seen our governments have not disclosed the agreements, the purchase agreements with the producers of the vaccines. We all know these are not vaccines. They call it vaccines. I call them toxins. They're toxic. They do harm to our immune system. We should not take them. I know so many people whose health has deteriorated. Is worse than before. Today in the Swiss newspaper, 20 Minutes, there was a report about our soldiers in Switzerland. The youngest generation of soldiers have now a much worse physical performance than ever before. Of course, we have all these other figures that you have as well. I don't want to repeat them. That would fill the rest of the evening. And you know these figures already. So, yes, what do we see if we look at WHO, World Health Organization, founded 1948, on a basis of a constitution, with the purpose in Article 1 of the Constitution. It shall protect, or shall help to protect the health of the people, to bring it at the highest possible level. And if we go then to Article 2 and 3, we see that WHO shall provide its services only by way of assisting and upon request, okay? Upon request of its member states. It shall never impose any kind of truth, any kind of measures, any kind of assessment. It is just a recommendation, and it is never legally binding. This is the constitution of the World Health Organization. And then we have a very strange thing in this constitution, and these are the international health regulations, which are based on Article 21 and 22. And these regulations enjoy a certain privilege. These are international agreements, yes. Technically, they must be seen as international agreements, yes, but they are privileged in the sense of they become automatically legally binding for the member states after a certain period of time. Why? Because WHO in its constitution had said, well, for technical standards of health, we can allow our World Health Assembly have a certain set of rules that will help the countries to define their standards. And that's the only reason why this international treaty is so much privileged. If you would like to see it, I could show it, of course, in the WHO, World Health Organization's constitution. You can look it up easily. You'll find it immediately, Article 21 and 22. And so these are very, very limited authorities WHO has. Now, what are they doing now? They put into this form, into this framework of health regulations, they put in, as we all know, tremendous changes and augmentations of WHO's powers that are not even foreseen in the constitution. It's like a Trojan horse. You know, this Trojan horse history from the old Greeks, where in Troja, when there was this nice big horse out of wood, presented in front of the doors of Troja, it was let in because it looked like a piece of art. The same is with the international health regulations. They just look like very simple standard regulations that provide standards from the outside. But if we look at the amendments that are in public presented since end of last year, 2022, we see, wow, this is anything but just simple health standards. These amendments provide for a massive strengthening of WHO's constitutional powers. 3 elements, 3 examples. Number 1, in these amendments, I'm talking about something that this is new, will become enacted, because you all know that international health regulations, they exist already since 2005. They are legally binding for all of our countries since 2007, and they are the basis for the COVID pandemic already. They have been used, but now we are talking about amendments, and 3 points actually are changing even the constitution, are even against the constitution. Which are these 3 points? Number 1, it will become much easier for the Director General to declare a pandemic. You all know the proposal so far allows to declare a pandemic just in case of a new variant of a human influenza. So any kind of influenza, which is per definition new every year, would be sufficient. But then also this concept of One Health, it's a concept without a clear standard. It has been developed over the past 10 years, and it comprises everything and nothing. It is designed to, with a logic that climate change, that the world of the animals, of the environment, of literally everything what comes from the environment could give rise to a health problem. So we could see that maybe in case of a very warm summer, or CO2 levels measured in certain countries would rise up, that could give a reason to the Director General to declare a pandemic. Number 2, this first point that I always criticize leads to an status of permanent of easy self-authorization, and global power structure that can just self-authorize itself for a whatsoever reason, means that they can take over the power. For what can they take over the power? For number 1, to impose restrictions and all the recommendations they have made so far to impose them as legally binding. So whether it is lockdown, whether it's duty to wear masks, whether it is duty to prove your health status by a digital health certificate that can exclude you if you don't have this digital health certificate from accessing the public life, from your work, from your banking, the financial system, even from the internet. You can be excluded. And we all know what can be controlled will be controlled. Restrictions that can be imposed will be imposed in case of a pandemic. So, but the third point, I think the third point for us citizens is the most dangerous one. And if you take home just one little message, this is that WHO wants to have the power and the capacity to define the truth as soon as WHO refers to pandemic prevention. It's WHO, and this is so important to WHO, they have put it into both of these new agreements, into the amendments to the international health regulations, but also in the new pandemic treaty. In the new pandemic treaty, it's Article 18, and in the international health regulations, in the amendments, it's Article 44. And why is this so dangerous? Well, we have seen that already, this control of information and this high level of censorship on YouTube, on all the social media. Whenever somebody of you posted some statistics that showed just the truth, of rising level of deaths or of all of the side effects, then many of us got censored on YouTube also. So this was in the past already the reality, and today. Now WHO wants to strengthen that capacity, and it is not only WHO who wants this right to be given to WHO, it's also United Nations. It's also the World Economic Forum. It is also the European Union. I could show you official documents. All of them won't allow the World Health Organization to be in control of the information. And why is this so dangerous? What is the basis for every good decision making? Whether it is in science, where we need thesis and antithesis and the debate between scientists, or it is justice, the court procedures, where we have always the principle that the other side must be heard, or whether we speak about democracy, or we speak about an informed consent, we always need to have the full picture, both sides, all relevant aspects for our decision making. And we need the capacity, of course, to digest this information. And on the other side, we need the liberty to come to a free decision. These are the preconditions for a free, informed consent. If you take away this free information, if you just show one side and always say the vaccines are effective and they are safe, and still today, dear friends, still today, the World Health Organization on its homepage, I could show it with my presentation, they have on the homepage the advertisement for the vaccines and say they are safe and effective. I just tried to read verbatim here. Still today on the homepage, the mRNA COVID-19 vaccines are as safe as other vaccines. COVID-19 is a life-threatening disease. Don't risk your life. Don't risk your health. Get vaccinated as soon as possible and get vaccinated. COVID-19's vaccines are safe. Many more references all today on the homepage. They don't show the side effects. They don't show the collateral damages, and neither do our countries. So this is a manipulation in information, and together with restrictive measures, we are limited in our capacity to have a free decision. So this is what is already reality now, and which WHO wants to have officially in their formal new two agreements. And this is really bad, because if you eliminate, as I said, this free information and free debate and the liberty to decide, if you eliminate that, then you eliminate the basis for a free science, free democracy. You eliminate the basis for justice, and you make it impossible to come to an informed consent. And this is really bad. And then Mr. Tedros, maybe he listens to us. We would also have to tell him, look, in each of our democracies, we have the principle that whatever decision was made, we will have remedies to correct it if the decision was wrong. We call it checks and balances, right? We have the judiciary, the judiciary power, then we have, of course, the executive power, the government, and we have the courts. And then we should have free press that is always in a distance from the government and should bring in critics and the other side. We should have that. I'm now 57, and I've been working as a lawyer for so long time. I cannot believe that I have to go to manifestations to write these kinds of letters to the government, to go to parliaments and tell these things that are so normal, that should be the basis for our constitution, to have free speech and not to be lied by the government. The government should never lie to people, and they should not lead people into a wrong direction that is harmful. And most of all, now after almost 4 years of COVID, they should have come to the moment to say, okay, look, guys, dear population, we have spent your money, and we see that we have spent a lot of your money, and we have been extremely disruptive with the economy, with the society. We have seen that there is a deep split in our society. So let's do a very careful reconsideration and an after-action review. In military, it is called after-action review. Whenever you do a little exercise, then, and still today, it is impossible to have an open, fair, respectful debate where the evidence that we show as citizens or as lawyers, that we show every time, extremely careful, that this evidence is even considered. This is, to me, still a nightmare, because we see our governments are just power structures. They follow a certain harmful, very dangerous logic that shall bring us closer to vaccination. So what do we do with it? What shall we do with it? I mean, probably what I have said, what I've told you, was not new at all to you. And I thank you for the work you have done in Israel to oppose the World Health Organization. And what can we do now? Okay, you all know that May 2024, next May, so from now in 6 months, not long, there will be the next World Health Assembly. And the health ministers, maybe also the, well, it is the assembly of the health ministers, they will vote about these 2 new legal instruments. Never forget, it's not only the pandemic treaty, this fully new pandemic treaty, of which there will be, and there must be, even according to the World Health Organization's own constitution, there must be a ratification. That means in your country, the parliament must hold a debate. And there must be a debate in any case. But with amendments to the international health regulations, they will pass already with a simple majority. And then after 10 months, they will become legally binding. What can we do against it? You may have heard about this deadline of 30th November, a couple of days ago, last Thursday, 30th of November. James Roguski has done a great job in warning us, in alerting us about this deadline. And that was the reason, Jonathan, why you called me very late, 2 hours before midnight, Swiss time. So just to briefly recapitulate, 30th November was the deadline to submit a letter of rejection. Our governments were given the possibilities to submit a letter of rejection to the World Health Organization with respect to a little amendment of Article 59 of the International Health Regulations. If you look at this Article 59, International Health Regulations, it deals with periods, the period for with respect to amendments. What happens if there is an amendment and this amendment is voted by the World Health Assembly? Then there is a period during which you can, as a government, submit your objection. You can reject this amendment. And this period was so far 18 months. So the governments had 18 months to understand, and for decision-making, also the parties, parliament could pressure the government to make them say no. Now, this period for rejection has been shortened to 10 months. And another period is the period for bringing these new amendments into force. And this period was 2 years. Now it is just 1 year. So that is a change that was adopted, that was voted upon by the World Health Assembly on 28th of May, the year before, 2022. And it could have been rejected until end of November. And so far, I don't know of any country that has really rejected that. But all of us, we have tried to raise awareness, to inform our politicians. And, you know, of course, none of the country has managed. But what I see now is finally the politicians in most countries have understood there is a problem with these international health regulations. They did not know that there is such a significant change in our constitutions ultimately related or coming from these new amendments. They did not know that. I can tell you, spoken with politicians in more or less 10 different countries, and I've seen that they are all interested to learn more. As soon as they understand, they are interested to learn more. And personally, I am convinced that they continue this process of understanding. And the world will not go down within the next 6 months with respect to World Health Organization. We have 6 months until May, until this World Health Assembly will take place, this vote, as I said. It will need just a simple majority. And then there will be 10 more months for rejection. So what can we do? We will inform our fellow citizens. We will inform the politicians. And I can tell you also, the lawyers internationally, we work together to inform the politicians and to bring pressure to politicians, to pressure them. Why do we need to pressure them? Well, I mentioned these changes. And what are the arguments? The arguments here are, if we give control out of our hand, if we give the control over our constitution, if we allow the WHO to define our legal status, and just like that, declare an emergency, and legal emergency, just like that, and then impose on our countries, on our populations, all of these restrictions I mentioned, lockdown and even vaccination. Yes, vaccination can be a recommendation in the current version of these international health regulations, Article 18, proof of vaccination. It's one example. So all of this can happen. The good message here is that every lawyer who will look at these international health regulations will easily identify those parts that are actually against our constitution fundamentally. I will not now give a lecture why, but this is my main specialization, to show where these amendments will take over our sovereignty. And this is just a summarizing word to actually comprise all the detailed basic elements of our constitution that we should be proud of to have if they are respected. So all of them can be assumed, can be suspended by WHO at any time, and we will have no chance to take it back. And the number two group of arguments is that even the World Health Organization's own constitution does not allow for such a far-reaching extension of the powers of WHO. So even all the member states should say, look, if we really want to give WHO such a wide range and extension of powers, we should first change the constitution of WHO. And then also we must change the constitution of our own country, because our country does not allow to give up our own sovereignty. And I personally would even say it is not even possible to give up the self-determination of the people. Our right, our self-determination is an eternal right. We cannot renounce on that. If we would make a contract with a doctor and allowing the doctor to give us whatever medicament, whatever substance he wants to give us, as experimental as it ever might be, this contract is null and void in all of our countries. This is a slavery contract. You can always say, look, no, I have no knowledge about the effective consequences of a certain substance that somebody in the future is imposing on me. This is a not valid agreement. So why should this agreement be valid for an entire globe, for an entire population? This is never going to happen. This is such an illegal, dystopian violation of the most fundamental human rights. I refer here explicitly to even the United Nations Charter of 1945. Article 1, the self-determination of the people, is one of the basic pillars that was established after World War I. Then the human rights, deriving as well from the same charter. Then this covenant, it's an international agreement, this covenant from 1996 on political and civil rights, Article 7, says that there shall never be any kinds of experiments on human being unless this person is fully informed and has the liberty to decide. So informed consent, Article 7 of the Covenant of Political and Civil Rights of People. And this is totally violated and totally suspended, even in the past 3 years, with an WHO and with governments who say, if you don't take these vaccines, you shall not be allowed to participate in the public life, and so on and so on. So the list is extremely long that we see here is violated, and that's the positive part of it. That's the positive message that every lawyer must see that as soon as he starts looking at it. Okay, so please, I apologize for having spoken so long. This was a lot of theory. Now you have certainly practical questions. Please give me your questions, dear friends. Thank you very much for listening.
Before questions, can you tell us a little bit about what is happening in the whole world? Because we are very local and we know that Israel is the center of the world. But we would like to hear about a little bit about what is going worldwide.
Yes. Okay, so I work together with James Rogowski, with my friends from Children's Health Defense, Door to Freedom, Meryl Noss. I went with Meryl Noss to the Parliament of Estonia. And 2 days later, they sent out a letter, the members of the parliament. We went together now to Croatia to have our presentations there. Also, we met some politicians in Italy. So overall, I just take out a list. What is going on in the world? I start with a very precise letter that was written by members of parliament of the EU Parliament, addressed to the WHO and saying, look, we don't see any evidence, any proof on the homepage of WHO that the vote on the shortening, the reduction of the deadlines of the periods I have just mentioned before, Article 59 of the International Health Regulations, this vote had taken place on the 28th of May, 2022. But there's no evidence on the WHO's deadline that could show that there was indeed a simple majority. So it was very smart from Rob Rose and his 11 fellow members of the European Parliament to demand directly from Tedros, show us the evidence, because we think that there was no proper vote. That was the last one, the most specific one. And now I take on my list of the countries, what countries have been involved. There are, I can tell you, many countries have opposed on the level of the parliaments, right? So the members of parliament, they are about to wake up, and they have tried to urge their own governments. Their own governments have not reacted. So then they have sent the letter out directly, just in their capacity of member of parliament. And there were many or some countries who have done it. Slovenia has announced it, New Zealand, Estonia, Slovakia, Mexico, Philippines. I have so far not seen an executed letter from a government that has declared rejection to this shortening of these periods. That I have not seen. But what I see, and I'm in contact now with activists, even South Africa, they tell me that the members of parliament are about to wake up now. Finally, it's late, but they are about to wake up, and they want to know more. And what we must do is to continue this process of information and target specifically in a clear and in a very understandable, peaceful way our own politicians, and tell them, you are responsible for keeping our constitution. You throw out our constitution if you allow this vote to come out positive in favor of this new pandemic treaty and in favor of the amendments. And it is a process. It is a hard process. I can tell you, I don't make money from that. I have now been working for a couple of weeks just for that. Being a lawyer, normally I have to charge my clients, but here it was self-defense. Also, I felt the responsibility of, if I know already so much or I have so much experience, I must use it to help others to understand. So I can only tell you, more and more politicians say, thank you, Mr. Cruse, thank you, James Rogowski, thank you, Meryl Nass, Renate Holzeisen, and others for keeping us informed. And we get more and more invitations to come. These are invitations. We are happy when the flight is paid. And meanwhile, also hotels are paid. That's a great advantage compared to before, where we just paid everything ourselves. And in my view, these changes will not be adopted. The countries will not like this notion of giving up sovereignty and not having the possibility to stop the WHO. There's no control mechanism that could control Tedros, that could control a pandemic, that could stop a pandemic, that could stop a recommendation to get vaccinated. There's no stop button. And so I cannot imagine that the countries will accept it. Absolutely not. But we have to continue this work. I should mention that I'm also in contact with lawyers from Israel, and it is a task of cooperation, of strong cooperation over our borders. We shall work together as one big family. This is all I can say. And we are good in that. We are good in that, to work together as one family. And yeah. That's what I try to do.
Absolutely. All of us have only one target. Thank you, Philip. Jonathan, if you can ask Philip 3 questions that are the most relevant.
Yeah, the first one, Barak. Barak, are you with us? You can ask your question, Barak.
Hi, Philip. Nice to meet you. First of all, we all always compare our democracy to Switzerland, where they have the direct democracy and the people could always influence what happens. So I like to hear what you have to say about that. If it helped in Switzerland at all, or it just like giving the people the feeling that they can do something, but it's actually like everywhere else. And the other question is, where does it say who can actually deny the amendment changes? Like where legally it says who could send their decline of the update?
I start with the last question. It's a technical question. You are asking whether this must be the government or whether this can be the Minister of Health or the Foreign Minister. So,
Right.
yes, we are talking here about Article 22 of the WHO's Constitution and 59 of the International Health Regulations. It is not specified there, but it is either the president of a country or the health minister, as the decisions within the World Health Organization are usually taken by the health minister or his representatives. By the health ministers, sorry, it's an assembly of all the health ministers of the 194 member states, but they can send their delegates, which usually are people from the health ministry or health agency, however it is called in your country, right? So they are the ones who must do it. It cannot be rejected by members of the parliament. They would not be competent. And then the first question, that's an interesting one. Yes, we have, at least from the constitution, a better democracy than in most other countries. And but still, and we were even allowed to vote, to have free votes on our COVID-19 law. And we could have, as people, we could have said no to this law. And we had 40% saying no, 60% saying yes, we want to have it, with all the 3 votes we had. What had happened? Well, this is maybe already George Orwell acting today. You cannot underestimate the power of disinformation. We have the same degree of disinformation as you have in Israel. And this disinformation is spread from the government, it is spread from the media, it is spread from the TV, from everywhere. And if you have disinformation combined with fear, this is a production of fear, so smartly done. Pictures from Wuhan, pictures from Bergamo. If you ask people, even today, would you decide differently? At least today, 4 years later, they say, no, still these pictures of Wuhan, this spooky ghost of Wuhan is still somewhere. It is, I don't know. And then maybe also a certain, meanwhile, established social pressure, social common sense, that they don't question that anymore. They just, so you cannot think that just if you ask the population, you have a better democracy. You have only a better democracy if the media, if the politics provide you with the full picture, as I mentioned, pro, contra, both sides. And if an open debate is allowed to take place. Did we have an open debate in Switzerland? Absolutely not. My colleagues and I, we were called names. We were called far right wings, whatever, extremists. And so that had its very strong effect on the rest of the population. They went away, said, oh, we don't want to have anything to do with these guys. We don't want to be conspiracy theorists. So this is such a powerful tool, even in a free democracy in Switzerland.
Thank you very much.
Estia, you are with us? You have a question?
Yep.
Estia?
Good evening, Mr. Cruz. I have a question concerning the international court, the possibility to win over there. Now, there is the two timetables of silent agreement. One was considered to the May 22 and one of May 23, which ends on March 24. Now, in Israel, we have kind of a situation that I hope that we will be able to make use of it, and that is Dr. Asher Shalmon, who was the head of the WHO department in Israel, and he received a nomination as one of the managers of the WHO, the international. Now, he was pushing very, very hard to establish all those terrible changes. What are our chances to approach the court, the international court, and say that we think that there was a conspiration between him and the WHO, and therefore all these silent agreements are not valid, and we can just free ourselves this way.
What kind of secret agreements are you talking about? Because this is new to me.
Probably he just received the options to save his family, himself from Agenda 2030. He received the nomination, which is quite a heavy. It will be a heavy salary.
Okay.
Considering the new budget on 25, and he is actually secure from being on court in Israel for treachery,
Yes.
betrayal. Yeah.
Esther, you talking about the immunity?
Yes. So all of it actually probably convinced him
Yes.
to work for them.
Okay. We ask for accountability, right? We want to have WHO held accountable, in my view, this is the basic, most important question, for making recommendations that are harmful, that still today they hold up these dangerous lies, telling people these substances are safe, are effective, and are the only way out of COVID-19. So that means that all the damages that are caused by mRNA-based substances that I would call toxins and not vaccines, that all the damages that they were caused by the World Health Organization. And we want to see them accountable. And now the question is, what is with their immunity? What is with their immunity? And my response is, I first always look into the Constitution. If we look into the Constitution, we find under Article 66, that's in my view, the key. Yes, World Health Organization. We see in Article 66, very important key, because this is their own constitution with respect to immunity. And what do we read there? Immunity shall be granted only as it may be necessary for the fulfillment of its objective. You can stop here to listen again. Immunity is granted only if it is necessary for the fulfillment of WHO's objective. So the objective is in Article 1, guarantee of the Constitution. Do what they can do for improving or keeping the population's health at the best possible level. And now, if they introduce substances that have a negative net benefit, that are harmful, that cause death, against something that nobody would actually need such a vaccine, such a substance, then this is absolutely the opposite of what the objective of the World Health Organization defines them to do. So in my view, you know, if I should not be around anymore tomorrow for whatsoever reason, I would tell you, go after 66. This is the way how to eliminate immunity, and this shall be actually pursued. I have done a criminal complaint in Switzerland against our highest medical safety agency, Swissmedic, because Swissmedic still today allows these substances to be approved, authorized. And so if you have done all this work, you can use the same evidence also for different purposes. I cannot go into the details further, but I think.
Excuse me, I think that I wasn't clear. I actually meant the IHR, that he actually, because of whatever he did, the IHR are in most dangerous, and those are the things that we can actually go forward to international court. And I do ask you because I have no clue about it.
Oh, I see. I understand. So you want to go to the international court because you say the IHR are dangerous in itself.
No, because of a conspiracy between the person who actually did and maintains the silent agreement and all the things that he received due to this action of him, which is a kind of betrayed in Israel.
I see. I don't see sufficiently clear what this person did. Therefore, I can unfortunately not give an answer on this question. I'm very sorry. But I would start with the effective damages that were caused by the World Health Organization. This is where I would start.
Thank you very much.
Michal,
yes, there is one question now popping up for the third time. Please excuse. If a country decides to leave the World Health Organization, yes, of course this can be done. So, whatever, and if it is just a question of the political will, Now, again, if the entire population, the government, the entire world is all the time subject to disinformation, and also the World Bank has a huge share in financing the World Health Organization, they are interested in this power scheme. And we all know that the World Bank defines the price for money that is given to governments of loans, the interest rates for loans. So there will be a huge pressure and a huge disinformation campaign that will make it difficult to leave the WHO, but it is possible. Of course it is possible. Yes.
Thank you for that. Give us a lot of hope. Of course, Michal, you have a question to ask.
יונתן, אתה תוכל לשאול בשמי?
Yes.
תודה.
So Michal is asking, if the documents to the UN, the silence documents, are those documents are legal? The UN want to declare on the WHO as like the authority of health and want to support them and give them a lot of money, like around $30 million per year to make them one of the strong body other in the world, and want to have the documents of silence. So if it's legal, if the documents of silence that the UN wants to read about the WHO are those legal documents. And another question, if there's a more legal way to find a way to get out from the WHO agreements, And if the power of the people, what if the power of the people, if it's possible, the power of the people to be more than the government? So the second question is if is the power of the people can be more than the government and can be effect on the WHO? This is the second question.
Yes. So ultimately, you know, it is very clear. It is us, the people. We, the people, must make it absolutely clear and understood that we don't want to have these agreements. They are absolutely counter-constitutional, and they are outside of the World Health Organization's own constitution. And they are just a plan to deactivate our democracies and transform our democracies into a totalitarian global power structure. This is not what we want. We must oppose it. This is, and if it's not sufficient until next May, and they still say yes, then we have to increase the pressure. We have to say it is our right of self-defense and self-determination. Article 1, United Nations Charter, that was created as a response to 2 world wars, to the biggest stream of blood that has ever arisen from humankind. Response to that was United Nations Charter, Article 1, the right of self-determination. We do not accept as people such a totalitarian regime. And we say that as loud as necessary until it is off the table. This is how I would respond to it, because all these diplomatic, political moves go slowly. And if we don't put a very clear position in all of our countries, they will just do it because it's for them easier to accept.
But
Always,
I want to, sorry, I'm sorry. I want to make it certain. Can a certain number of citizens who sign a protest can take place legally of the government protest instead of the government? If the government is...
you mean the
nothing.
rejection? Yes, you mean the rejection
Yes.
of the international health. Oh, okay, sorry that I did not understand the first place. Okay, so we are talking here about rejecting the amendments, the changes to the international health regulations. Right. So, okay, so it should be either the Premier Minister or the Health Minister. That's the official way of doing it. But, well, you could do a popular vote. I don't know the Constitution of Israel, but maybe you can, with a certain number of votes, demand that your government should issue a note of rejection, or that a vote is held. You can maybe, with a certain number of votes, demand we want to have a vote on a law that binds the government. So there must be in your constitution ways of finding signatures. And if not, I would then anyway collect signatures. How many people, Yehonatan, live in Israel? Sorry that I have not looked it up.
Around 9.5 million.
9.5 million, just a little bit more than in Switzerland. So it's very comparable. So I would then say, okay, let's make 1 million of signatures within 2 months, or maybe 2 million. Reject the amendments, right? And this is the right way, a right thing to demand. It is not extreme. We are not extremists. We just want to protect our constitution. We just want to protect our human rights. And we have never voted for an international power, global power structure that is out of control and out of the control of our governments. So always say, we want to protect our constitution, our democracy, our constitutional rights. This is all we want. And well, I shall not say that in Israel, but actually, I personally, in Switzerland, I'm willing in Switzerland to fight for my rights. I have to.
Thank you. The first question was, is this agreement with Silent is legal in the context of such fundamental changes in the treaty?
Yes, are you
And
talking?
what can we do to find another way, not to find another way to find it illegal?
Are you referring to the silent agreement of the changes of May 2022?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
You are very well informed. Great. You're really well informed. So this is still on the table here, and I'm behind it together with Rob Rose and the other members of the European Parliament. You can imagine that we will not let this go. And what we will do about it? Well, if there's no proof coming that this vote has been explicitly been counted, we want to see how many representatives have been in favor, how many against, and how many were there altogether. So if we don't see that, you can really be sure that we will protest, we will declare, we will work against that, absolutely. And we will increase the pressure and the spotlight on it. And we will do that on an international level, together with you, together with our American friends, with all of them together. We will not accept that. The reason and the logic is you cannot make changes that have so extreme consequences for the entire planet, actually eliminating the democratic possibility of participation. You cannot do that if it is not done with a proper procedure of debate and voting and so on. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yes. So we will work on that absolutely with first priority.
Yes, please. Hi, Philip. How are you? My name is Oriane.
Hello, Oriane.
First of all, hi, good evening. I
you.
really want to thank you for joining us and explaining all the things that we need to do. But I have a few questions for you that are very fundamental. I think from what I heard and what I understood, that Israel does not belong to the UN. Is that true, or it doesn't belong to the WHO? And second of all, if we are, as the citizens, can we separate ourselves from our politicians? We don't want to depend on them because they are working against us, because they are going with their agenda, and we have to bring the power to us. Is it possible? In which ways to go over their heads?
You know, Oriane, wherever I go, this is the same question that pops up everywhere, and it pops up the most significantly in Germany. They are so desperate there. It's obvious that their government is doing politics absolutely against the people's interest. And, you know, if there would be a simple way, a simple shortcut, we would have all done it already. The only way is we have to show our power. The entire state power is derived from the people. The Germans have that even in their Grundgesetz. Article 20, paragraph 3, it says all the power comes from the people. But the government has totally forgotten.
Philip, please continue with your answer, because it's very important for us to know how to continue to really work. Because you know what I'm afraid of? Because we are approaching, you know, government officials and all of that. And I feel that they are two-faced. They are saying us, yeah, we are going to help you. And behind the scenes, they are not doing anything. And I want them to not ignore us. I want them to hear our cries and do something about it for real, Philip, really, with a passion.
Yes.
Because we are, like, you are fighting for your future and your children's future. So all of us are doing it for the future. It's not just for now. How can really find a loophole that we, the citizens, we go and approach them directly, going over their heads because we are approaching, it's only 6 months. It's nothing. It's nothing, you know?
It is, yeah, it is 6 months, then it's the vote, and then we have an additional 10 months to make them reject. So we have altogether 16 months. This allows us to build up more pressure. I can only tell you, it is correct to say wherever I was, Austria, Germany, France, then in all the Scandinavian countries, all the people tell me the same, more or less in the same strength. With this intensity that you have spoken, I hear it only in Germany. People are totally desperate because they also speak to their governments for a long time. And the government in Germany are just puppets, stupid puppets. They should never be in power. It is incredible. And it is not even difficult to explain, you know. So, and this is dangerous for the whole world. You think of a country that is governed by puppets, stupid puppets that follow directions from somewhere else. This is very dangerous now in Europe. We have a very dangerous situation, and Switzerland is directly neighboring to Germany, and our governments tries to copy Germans, you know. It is super dangerous. And this is why I don't have nothing to lose. If I don't act, I mean, there will be very soon civil war, whatever, coming very soon, and no economy. There's nothing to lose, to be very clear about that. So we will have a plan to escalate our power as people onto the streets together with others. We can be sure this time also the elite will lose a lot. They don't have understood yet, you know. It's not just us, the poor, the simple people, but also the bigger people from the businesses. They will also lose everything and will have to inject themselves twice per year with experimental toxins. So I count on them to also wake up and say, stop, our business is going down, our health is going down, our life of quality is going down. So we also say stop. And this is my hope I have. Because when I look at these papers from the lawyer's perspective, this is such a clear plan to disaster. This is a clear plan to authoritarian suspension of our democracies that everybody who understands will immediately reject. Everybody, not only we, but also those who were very happy with the government in the past. Also those. So this is my hope, that we have just to make it understood to as many people as possible, very quiet. If we are hysteric to them, they will not believe us. If we start with explaining, it's all done by Klaus Schwab or others, they will not listen to us. Just stay with very simple facts. What we see here, these two legal instruments, and what WHO has done already, and that they have ignored all of the evidence on the table. It's a denial of facts, a denial of reality. We must have this patience to continue in our persuasion, to convince people. I think that people will wake up. It will take a while. It might take 10, 12 months, but they will wake up, and we will help them waking up. And let's help them waking up as brothers. We must help waking them up as brothers and sisters. This is so important. They are part of our family. And no matter how deep the split was in the past years, this is so important. I have so many clients, they are vaccinated and they are suffering. And we have to help them.
Yeah.
We have to help them. Yes.
Do you think that we need to also put the focus on about they want to infiltrate the education system, the economics, of course? Do you think that we also need to talk about all of these subjects in order to wake people up, or we just focus right now on the health aspect of it?
I would focus on the WHO's scope, but there is this cool sexual education involved. I personally have not yet used these topics simply because I did not have found the time to incorporate that. But maybe some subgroups of you could become specialized in this, as in our countries as well. Mothers, lion mothers, have discovered these topics, have done very great flyers. This is something where everybody, says this is not our culture. We cannot favor such a policy. This is bad. This is bad by definition. This is toxic by definition. So, and the same goes for the businesses. We all should, find out what are the businesses that lost the most in the past years, and try to work with them together. And even the rich, even the very rich guys, many of them have also lost. Not everybody has won. So yeah. So yes, playing the economic card, the business, and then this sexual education. That's reality. That's not conspiracy theory. And then pushing children into this decision making, whether they want to change their sexuality. This is mutilation. This is the help of mutilate people physically and mentally. You destroy children. So certainly this is something. But personally, you are asking this question because we have this United Nations Agenda 2030. And personally, I don't talk about 2030 because then nobody can listen anymore. I'm talking right now for 1.5 hours just about WHO. And in my view, it's like in military. We have to focus on one target and there make the priority. The rest will come also.
Amen. Thank you, Philip. I really appreciate your time and for answering my questions. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you so much for bringing this up and for bringing it forward, for uniting us. I can tell you, I have the same conversations in all the countries, and all I can say is we have the right to stop the WHO. We just have to do it. If we all would say today, stop it, go home, we dissolve you, we hold you accountable. Bill Gates, we have not mentioned him yet, but he is one of the worst crime figures in human history. He is the pandemic profiteer. He has benefited from it. And he tells it even with a joke, So we are in this together. We have the same rights. And cross-border, we are even stronger. And we will continue. We have to. There's no other choice. Sooner or later, we will win. And one way of reaching people, I've sent a link now. It is in German, though, but on this link, you find a flyer with 10 very intelligent questions and even better answers about WHO and the sources behind the answers. And so this Mehr Wissen, maybe it's also in Hebrew, I'm not sure, but it's in at least 22 questions. In case that somebody would be willing to translate it into Hebrew, please let me know, because I helped with this flyer. It is the flyer for having the first package, the first aid package of WHO, what to ask, what to know, what to tell others they should know, right? So if it is not yet in Hebrew, in heroic Hebrew, then it should be translated into.
We published it like 2 months ago. We all.
Oh, great! Yes.
Yes. It's in Hebrew as well, and there's a wonderful flyer there.
It's in Hebrew as well. Fantastic.
Yes.
I'm happy to read. Yes, right now it's a review. Okay, so that's the one I would really recommend the most for everybody as a first step. And once somebody has understood this flyer, then he or she is fit for all the next steps. And yeah, thank you so much, Jonathan, for organizing this great Zoom. Thank you so much. I feel also extremely honored, and I will also do my best to help you and to work together with your lawyers, because I'm already in contact with your lawyers. And so we will see each other again very soon. all the very best to everybody of you. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you,
for
Philip.
Thank you
all of
very
your time.
much.